Y'all want to be in the rental car business. If you want to start renting out your cars, I'm going to give you some game. First of all, you need multiple drivers. So you better have a team, some family, some friends, a couple people to help. You can't be moving these cars yourself. You can, but only to park them. As far as delivering them, you definitely need help. Let's go. So y'all want to get into the car rental business. Before you get into the car rental business, y'all got to understand that it really deals with one word. And that one word is liability. But before we get into that, let me tell you how I got into the car rental business. When I initially started renting cars, I had a friend that worked at Enterprise Rental Car. I think he was the manager, or he was somewhere up there. And he was able to give me not one car, but multiple cars at a monthly rate, really good rate. I don't want to give out the numbers because, just in case anybody from Enterprise is watching, but really low numbers for fully loaded Suburban trucks, Yukons, Denali's, Chargers, Infiniti Q50s I had at the time. I think I had like some Hyundai Santa Fe's, Cherokees. Thinking what other car I may have had from Enterprise. Ford Fusions, I think some Altimas. But at one point I had about like maybe 15 cars from them and literally parked all outside my mom's house. It was crazy. And don't ask me how I did it, but I pulled it off. We had a little jug on the insurance, so I didn't have to pay insurance on every car every day. But yeah, I was doing that for a little bit, a couple of months. I'll say almost half a year. We made an Instagram. I was renting cars. It's almost like subleasing an apartment, but you're subleasing rental cars. That's kind of what I was doing. Renting out Enterprise cars on the street to people that couldn't get approved by Enterprise to rent cars, basically, or didn't want to go to Enterprise. So that's basically what I was doing. I was doing it for a while until my cover got blown. I think somebody from Enterprise came across the Instagram, seen all the cars, and they were like, "Hey, those are our cars." And there you go. My cover was blown. They hated on me. I had to turn in all the cars. And I think I did have some of the cars on Turo at the time. Most of the SUVs were on Turo because they would get rented and go out to Disney and Orlando and trips up to Florida all the time. So when I lost my cars, basically from Enterprise, I didn't have no cars to rent. So that's when I had to go on the hunt now and really start and, go get my cars and go acquire the cars. And my credit wasn't the best at the time. I was working on it. It was good, but I was still working on it, and I had to turn in my car in order to get a new car, which I'll explain to you how I was able to get multiple cars. But prior to that, like I said, I had to acquire more cars, so I started going to people around me, like my cousin, my baby mama helped, my homeboy, a couple other friends of mine that I basically just had them pull out cars for me. Or I used their car. If they had a car, I used it and put it on my fleet and started renting it, helping them pay their bills or paying off the car note or putting just money in their pocket. And that's how I started. I had my cousin pull out a Ford Fusion, an Altima, and I started with cheap cars in the beginning. I couldn't just get Suburbans and Escalades and things like that. So that's how I initially started. And I was getting crazy interest rates and getting taxed on these dealers for these piece of shit cars, but at the time I didn't care because you just want cars to start renting. You want to get your business going, and you could get them gone. I had already built a clientele base off with the Enterprise cars, so I had to keep it going. So I didn't really care what the cars were going to cost me monthly, as long as it wasn't nothing outrageous. But that's basically how I got into it. When it was my time to go pull out cars under my name, that's when I went to a dealer that I had a friend that was a finance manager, and I was able to pull out about 4 or 5 cars with zero down because of my credit. I told you I was working on my credit. And I pulled out a S63, like a 2016 coupe, 2-door AMG. I pulled out a S550 2015, which I still got to this day. A CLS 550 2015. And a Maxima fully loaded, like 2015, 2016. This was like the year 2016 or 2017 when I pulled out those cars. I got them all zeroed down, like I said. That doesn't happen to everybody. You gotta have relationships, or you gotta know how to talk to the finance manager and, put your credit to work. So I was able to pull that off, and the way I was able to get multiple cars is because every car came from a different lender, meaning a different bank. So every car was a separate loan with a separate lender, so the banks didn't know about each other. I was able to pull that off in one day. Usually people do that in a few days because they don't know what cars they're going to get, and they don't get all the cars at the same dealer. But how it works is you pull out a car, you could go to another dealer or another dealer and tell them to use another bank, not the bank you pulled out the original car loan from, and go get a new loan. The time that it takes for it to report on your credit is at least 3-4 weeks, sometimes shorter, but let's just say 3-4 weeks. So you got that time span to go pull out these cars at different banks without them knowing about each other. Because once they know that you pulled out a car here or you pulled out a car over there, they don't want to loan you multiple car loans. So once they know about each other, that's when you're kind of fucked and you can't do this little loophole or whatever you want to call it, which is not illegal, not a problem. If you got the money to afford it, you can pull out as many cars as you want. So that's basically what I did. At the time, I got a phone call and they're like, yo, come pick up your car, zero down. Who the hell is going to turn that down? I was going to find a way to pay it anyways. Most people would get scared because the car payment on the S63 was like $1,700. The one on the S-Class was like $1,300. So, hell yeah, people will get scared. People ain't ready to inherit those payments and take that type of risk and put that weight on their shoulders. But I already knew what I was capable of. I've always been ambitious. I told you I had already built a clientele base and I wasn't turning back. I wasn't looking back. And like I said, you get those cars zeroed down, that shit does not happen. So I went straight to the dealer with a couple of people and we drove all the cars back. That's really how I begun. Don't recommend it for everybody because this shit is not for the weak. It's a lot of keeping up with, and you gotta be able to money manage and know how to talk to clients and really put pressure on them, because some of these clients don't want to turn the cars back in. Not saying that they ain't paying, they'll pay. They just don't want to give you the car back in when you were supposed to give it back in, causing you to mess up a future rental or a planned rental that was after them. So there'll be delays like that, red light tickets, speeding tickets, parking tickets, cars getting impounded, and you have to go to the impound to get it because you're the owner of the car. Like I said, some of my cars were under other people's names, so I had to get them to go to the impound or deal with the red light tickets. They don't even let me get into the police chases, because that's another headache that I'm going to talk about in the liability. And of course, car accidents, which is going to go into the liability. But it's a lot more to it. Brakes, the tolls, which fucked me over, oil changes, tires, just regular maintenance. So, and when you're renting it out on a daily basis like this, then yes, a lot of wear and tear is going to happen, and you're going to need to do it more. Yeah, excuse me. But basically what I was saying is a lot of wear and tear, so don't be surprised if you're getting an oil change every 2 months or every month or going through tires and things like that. But it's not that exaggerated neither, but you just got to be organized. You got to have your paperwork together as far as when they rent the car, have them sign off on any damages and how the car was given to them as far as full tank and cleanliness, so they could give it back to you the same way, and signatures, copies of driver's license and things like that. Sure, you're going to run into people that you're like, oh, but you know them and you know this person, and you're going to skip that. But trust me, do not do that, because it will become a problem if an accident or a ticket or anything like that happen. You just want to always be prepared, and you want to be protected. You can take deposits. Deposits are always good, but don't waste the deposit money. And some people don't like to pay outrageous deposit fees, so don't put no $500 or $1,000 deposit fees on regular cars, because they're not going to pay that. Why I went on Turo now is because I got tired of dealing with people on the streets. Before I get into all of that, let me tell you where everything started going downhill to me, and this is where I'll get into the liability issues. I was making a lot of money with the cars. Everything was doing great. But like I said, you need a team. It's not easy to do this. I had multiple cars. I think at one point I had 15, 12, 20. I don't know what's the most cars I had at one time. But after the enterprise and having my own cars, I had about like 8 cars, I think, between me and one of my boys that he pulled out a couple of cars too. So we had about 8 to 10 cars. And not all the cars were under our names, like I said. So I say the problem began when the tickets and the police chases started happening. And this is one story. The car that got in the police chase wasn't mine. It belonged to a friend of mine that had a second car and they wanted to rent it out. So I was like, oh, I could help you. Not rent it out. They couldn't afford the monthly payment, so they had to figure something out. So here comes the hero, put it on Turo and put it on the streets, and I was renting it and helping them pay the bills and paying the insurance and making my money on top. What ended up happening is the person who was in the car renting it decided to do a police chase, got away from the police, called me and was like, yo, pick up the car here. There's the key. I left you the money. Pick it up. I'm sorry. This and that. Picked up the car. I had the car. The police went to the person of the house that's on the owner of the car. That's on the registration. They went to their house to try to pick them up because they thought they were the ones in the police chase. So the owner of the car is blowing me up, talking about, yo, what the fuck? Whoever was renting the car, you gotta bring them over here. The police are over here to arrest them. If not, they're gonna take me to jail. I'm like, that guy is not gonna answer the phone. Neither is he gonna show up. So I don't know what you want me to tell you. And I got on the phone with the police officer. I talked to him. I was like, listen, I rented out the car. The person that I rented it to is not picking up the phone. They're obviously scared. I would give you the information, but from what I'm looking at, the phony information, and he did it under a girl's name. His girlfriend had initially rented it. So I was able to beat around the bush. The cop let my friend go. And of course, my friend was like, yo, that's it. I don't want to rent the car out no more. So I lost one car. I was down one car on my fleet because of a irresponsible ass client, which is another reason why it pushed me more and more to go towards Turo. Second incident, my S63 Coupe, the two-door, the most expensive one, got stolen. The person who made the police report and said that they got robbed for the Rolex or whatever and the car, they said that they had rented the car. So when the insurance ends up finding out that the car supposedly got rented when it was stolen, that's when they were like, okay, we're not going to cover it. You're not supposed to be renting out the car because I didn't have all these cars on my personal, not all of them, but they were on personal people's credit, personal cars, not no business cars. So it was on personal insurance policies. And the ones that weren't under my name, I still threw them under my policy. And since you're technically not supposed to be renting the cars out, it's only supposed to be you driving them, they didn't want to cover it. So here I am with a $100,000 car, and I had a default on a loan that's $100,000, and that's where everything started going downhill. My credit started going downhill. I wasn't going to pay those monthly payments for a car that was gone. The car was gone completely, no GPS, they couldn't find it, If you know Miami, you know these carjackers here, they're pretty slick and they get them out here fast and they send them out the country pretty fast. So I took that as a loss. I kept going hard, but sure enough, things got more hard. Problems with the car started adding up. I think possibly another police chase, car accidents. I think they totaled my Maxima. I don't think they did. My Ford Fusion actually ended up getting shot up. That's things that you deal with Miami clients, So all of that pushed me to go to Turo because none of my clients on Turo go through this. Not once. I've rented. I'll show you my Turo page. I'll pop it up here. I have 93 rentals. Not one accident, not one shooting, not one police chase. So you choose. You make more money on the street. You could get $100 and up a day on the street. But the headaches that come with it, the liability and everything that comes with it is not worth it. Trust me, it's not worth your peace of mind, and it's not worth everything I went through. And this is kind of when it went even more downhill for me when my birthday came and all the tags expired at the same time. I had to renew them. And then I come to find out this tag goes 1,000, this tag goes 500, This tag goes 1,500. This tag goes 700. This tag goes 300. Tolls, tickets, parking tickets, all the tags owed. I don't know how much. So I couldn't renew all the tags. It was a lot of money to cough up at once. I had expired tags. I started going to dealers and getting temporary license plates and shit like that. But that was only gonna last so long. So that's kind of like when I was kind of like, damn, do I keep going and basically go broke and lose my fucking mind, or do I just, throw in the towel and, say I gave him all I got, but, it ain't worth it right now. For me, it wasn't worth it, and I wasn't afraid to say, I don't say I failed because I was making a lot of money. I just wasn't getting organized towards the end, and too much. It's just too much between the car maintenance, the cars having problems, the car repairs, the tolls, the tags. It was just too much money to spare out at once. I was like, yo, to recoup all this shit is gonna take me forever as far as through the rental car game. So I just decided to say, fuck this, and I turned most of the cars in, voluntary repos. I'm still fixing my credit. I nearly got almost all the cars out, but I voluntary repo at least 4 or 5 cars. I think I sold one of them. I think we had a van that was under my boy's name that got stolen in Georgia or some shit like that. So yeah, it's not what everybody thinks it is. I will tell you how to get into it the right way, which costs a lot of money. But this all falls into the liability. I did have the person that crashed the Maxima, their insurance covered it, but I think it still came out on my insurance or the Carfax or something like that. So, and then it was like an argument. It was back and forth with the client to make sure that their insurance covered it. So it's not easy. Like, you might think that, oh yeah, just because they put the insurance is all good. No, it's not. So I would say, like, if you're willing to do this full time, then yeah, go for it. If you got a team behind you, go for it. If you got some backup funds or you know how to money manage and organize, go for it. If you're really ambitious and you think you got what it takes, go for it. But if you come in here and thinking that it's going to be easy as it looks from the outside, and then you're just going to make a bag and not have to worry about paying so many bills and expenses and just be making money, it's not like that, because you got to cough up just as much money. Car washes. Every time that car gets turned in, car wash. Every time it goes out, car wash. Every time the car needs to go out, fill up the tank. I don't know what car rental places give you the fucking car in an empty tank or nothing like that. I always give my car in full tanks, and I would hope for them to come back full. Sometimes they did it, sometimes they did. But you gotta have money for all of that. The car washes was a must. I always had car wash supplies for the times that we didn't have time to get to the car wash. You gotta car wash that shit yourself. You gotta be willing to do it yourself. I'm a boss. I got plenty of other businesses. I could get people to do it for me. You know how many times I vacuum a car, put tire shine on the car, put fucking air freshener in the car and all types of shit? Plenty of times last minute. Plenty of times I had to drop off cars and take Ubers because the person I had depending on to go with me fake last minute. They didn't answer the phone. They didn't wake up on time. Whatever the case may be. So you can't wait on anybody else. You got to still make it on time and keep these customers and these clients happy. It's all about hospitality. That's what the game is. Hospitality. So you got to have communication skills. You got to have people skills. If not, they're not going to fuck with you. They're not going to want to rent with you. And if not, they're going to give you a hard time. I always got good reviews. I always have people coming back. I always have people taking pictures. I always have people showing love and giving tips. Because I was going up and above and beyond to serve these people. Waking up early, getting the cars washed. Like I said, taking Ubers, taxis, all types of shit. But, in the end, it didn't become so worth it for me. It became a headache for me, and having multiple cars, I still have multiple cars, but nothing like before. I feel like the right way to do it is get your business, LLC and all of that. Yes, I have that, but pull out the cars in your business and then go get a fleet insurance policy, which almost doesn't exist in Miami. It's hard to find an insurance company that provides that. It's a fleet auto insurance. It provides auto insurance for a fleet, but don't get it messed up. A fleet could be a company fleet, which means company employees drive those cars, which will be the same employees. So those employees have to be in the policy. This policy that I'm talking about is not that. You need a policy that's going to be multiple drivers that the drivers could change by days. Not no company policy where it's just the same company employees that will be driving the cars. No, you need the fleet policy that lets you rent to different drivers and different policy holders on a daily basis. There's websites that I'm going to put in the description that let you rent, pay for rental on a car by the day. I think it goes by weight, to be honest. But I rented on the street like that before, and I made them get that insurance before. But for right now, I just strictly rent my cars out on Turo, and I just told you guys why. Turo, they do the background check, they get the right drivers. All 90% of my drivers that rent from Turo, clients, they come straight from the airport, straight from out of town. Nobody from the city. I don't get no headaches, no tickets, none of that bullshit. So yeah, I make a little bit less money on Turo, sometimes a lot less money on Turo, but the peace of mind, it's priceless. You know, I don't have to deal with the headaches I used to go to, and I'm not renting as many cars as I used to. But if you want to do this for real, like I said, you got to have your business in order. You need to be organized. You need to be ready to spend a bag on insurance and have that policy. And you need to have a certain amount of cars in order to do that. All the cars have to be under the same name or the same business name. You can't be doing like the way I did it. You won't be able to put them under that insurance policy. That's kind of why I wasn't able to get that insurance policy. I know I'm speaking fast, but it's a lot of things. And you need storage space. Whether you get a warehouse, a garage, you're paying for storage in parking lots, whatever it is, you need to find a place to store these cars. And, you know, best of luck to you guys. Like I said, it all sums down to one word: liability, which is responsibility, and it falls down on you. Yeah, you might have someone else to pay for it, but at the end of the day, it's your face behind them cars, and that's your car. You know, so you want to leave it in someone's hands, and someone's insurance company to take their sweet ass time to go fix that car and let a fucking body shop take months for it, that's on you. You know, the longer that car sits in the body shop, that's another thing I can talk about. The more you pay out of pocket. So yeah, you might have someone crash the car and cover it, but they're not gonna cover the monthly payment. However long that car sits in the body shop, you're still paying for that car. You still have to make that monthly payment. You still have to pay the insurance, and the client is not gonna pay for that. They're not responsible for making a monthly payment. They crashed the car, their insurance is gonna cover it. The car's in the body shop. Doesn't mean they have to make the monthly payment upcoming. So yes, while your car's in the body shop, you still have to make payments on it. So understand this, you have to keep going. You have to be able to keep going with the pressure and be consistent, because there's a lot of pressure. But it's worth it for some people if you know what you're doing and you know how to be organized. And you know, I just wish you guys the best of luck. That shit is not easy as it looks, and I hope this video was informative to you guys. I'll try to do a part 2 and explain a little bit more of other incidents that happened that can't come to my mind right now. And I'll talk to y'all about the jet ski rental business, which is even a bigger fucking liability. And I'll do a separate video on that. But my best advice is get cars and throw them on Turo. What cars to get? Convertibles. At least in Miami, convertibles. Cheap convertibles like Mustangs. Anything that you can rent out under 100, 120 a day or less. Because, you know, people don't want to spend that much here. Convertible Mustangs, convertible Camaros, any one of those nice convertible cars, they love it. Especially in a city like this, drop top, it's the perfect car. Vans, fully loaded, believe it or not, they rent out like crazy. They get on the road every fucking weekend, just like Tahoe, Suburbans, and Escalades. So those are my top picks, I would say, as far as getting to rent, to start off with. They're not no luxury, crazy, exotic, expensive cars, and they will stay busy. I promise you they'll stay busy. Any other questions, advice, or anything y'all want me to talk about, drop it in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. Hit that notification. Yeah, boy. I'm out.